I've always had, ever since I've been composing, this kind of real pull towards using colour in my work. So I wanted to work with an artist. A lot of the time I'd used paintings and things to stimulate my ideas, but this time I wanted to actually work with an artist to see how that might change my musical language. We met up and we had to find what we were both interested in. We had to find a shared creative language that we could both understand, both from her being a visual artist and me being a composer, and that was quite difficult at first. There were processes that meant something both in musical terms and in artistic terms. Louisa creates these amazing folded forms made out of paper, and then she applies patterns and colours onto them and paints them into these amazing 2D pictures. She wanted artistically to discover what it was like to deconstruct these forms with all the different geometric shapes that her pictures had before, to deconstruct them into these shattered almost pictures. So I really latched onto that as a composer. I constructed a composition as linearly as I could. So instead of having separate unconnected ideas, I tried to create this continuous form where one idea just morphed into the next and the next and the next. And once I'd done that, I literally cut up my score and then kind of rearranged it, thought about what would be nice to go together and mapped it all out on the floor. And then I recomposed it using this new structure that I'd created. And to do that, I had to find ways of connecting up the ideas that might be completely separate from one another. I had these concepts of hot and cold, and I tried to make a section of ideas all seem hot, even though they were from completely different sonic worlds, or a section seemed cold, and I thought of it as reorchestrating it. So I wanted a cold section, so I created it all out of harmonics, and then that's how I connected some ideas together there. There were no tempo changes in the final version, where there had been in the previous linear version. So to make sure that I captured the sense of the tempo changing, I had to recalculate certain sections into the new tempo. So an example I've got here, in the old tempo it was just in, I think it was in quaver triplets. Here it's in septuplets over 6. Without having to have a dramatic shift in tempo for just a couple of beats, you could get this sense of a distortion in the tempo and then coming back to the previous tempo. Well, Louisa, when describing her art, used colours such as warm and dull to, think about what colours might seem hot. So what I actually did was, as well as composing hot and cold into certain, sometimes I used harmonics, sometimes I specified which string, I also actually left a lot of the decision to the performers. When we were rehearsing together, I had just, instead of performance directions telling them what to do, I had performance directions of hot, or getting hotter, or getting colder. And then afterwards, we coded those into the score and turned what they had suggested and what they had done into the performance directions that you see in the score now. I had 6 violins because at the beginning of our collaboration, Louisa sent me these wonderful white forms that she'd made, and the way she was applying colour was to project it onto the shapes. So she was always applying colour onto a blank canvas, and I wanted to do the same here. Throughout a lot of the piece, I used an open A that all the violins play as this kind of blank canvas, and then from that the events dance forward or spring back. So this piece was part of the collaborative module on the master's course. I used it here to help me address some things in my musical language that I'd become aware of over my time as an undergrad. And one of those things was my approach to form. Back in second year, I used to be so aware that I had all of these ideas that couldn't quite connect up, and I didn't know how to connect them up. I used this module in the masters to really find a way into that and to address that and really do it in my own way.